Looking live at Tom Shattuck's beautiful face. I see the eye is healed up. You haven't burned any more poison ivy. I see Cullen hasn't trimmed. Have you trimmed the beard? We are live on Facebook.
Don't talk about my facial hair. Then it gets people making fun of it. And I know that I lack the manliness of a...
I didn't need an explanation.
Right,
you look good. Your hair looks good.
Thank you.
I don't. My hair doesn't look good. That's why I wear my Shea Concrete hat every day. That and I love Shea Concrete. But let me tell you, I think I know now. I've learned a lot of things over the last. I got to get this straight. How many days in lockdown? 50 something.
Yeah, it's
figure that out.
In Massachusetts, it's been 6 weeks of this stay-at-home advisory.
That's only 42 days. So that's it's longer than that. I think it's longer than that. But anyway,
12 or something. Is that it?
We're into May. We're into May, and we're still living like prisoners. And I feel like now I know what Whitey Bulger felt like when he was on the run, because I've done some pretty dangerous things. I don't want to brag, but this weekend I played golf. Played golf. You know what else I did? And this felt like, I felt like I was in a movie on the run. I felt like Harrison Ford in Fugitive. I walked on the beach. Whoa. Without a mask. And at times my wife was like 4 or 5 feet away. It was scary. I was waiting for the choppers, waiting for the long guns, but walking on the beach without a mask was pretty dangerous. I gotta admit. And you know what? I live to tell about it. So I'm going to be bragging. You guys are going to get sick of this, but I am going to be bragging. I'm going to be like this guy coming back from the war. Man, I'm battle scarred. I walked on the beach and played golf on the same weekend.
How was the golf? Was it you can't actually putt into the hole, right? You can't do that right now.
Right? There's little things that stop the ball from going in the hole. So it's just like a putting green where you hit the things and it counts as like it went in the hole. Other than that,
doesn't that ruin the whole experience?
It does not. It does not ruin it at all. But other than that, there's no difference. You can't touch the flag stick. There's no rakes in the bunkers. So you get to just whatever. When you're in the bunker, you just make a mess and try to fix it as best you can. You don't shake hands at the end of the round. You don't go too close to the person you're playing with. But it's absolutely ridiculous that there's 3 states that haven't opened up for golf or set a date to open the golf courses. And one of them, of course, is Massachusetts. Massachusetts will be last at everything because we don't care about the private sector. We don't care about people who own businesses or people who have bills to pay. We are a authoritarian state, and our alleged. It'd be nice to see in Massachusetts with a Republican governor. I hope I live long enough to see that again. We have
right now. It's your Republican lieutenant governor who's the professor of golf courses, Gerry.
Oh,
and,
right.
Karen Polito will let you know because she knows when the golf courses are safe. I love that. You can't hit the ball in the hole. If that's not a backward subliminal way by the way.
I was saying, I don't even understand why that is, because if you don't take the pin out, you just reach and get your own ball out, and they think somehow the virus is going to get on the ball and stay in the cup. Whatever. It's the way it is, and it's better than nothing. And taking a walk, which is what it is, taking a walk and occasionally hitting a ball, is got to be the least dangerous thing. It's just inane. I think we've reached the point. I've been saying this for weeks, begging people to come along with me in this quest to get answers. You can make rules. I understand. We need rules. We need to mitigate, keep our distance. I'm not going to be out there sneezing into people's faces. I cover my mouth with my elbow. I do all the things I'm supposed to do. I just need to know why I'm doing it. And the reason the golf question is kind of a flashpoint is because it's the best example of government overreach for no good reason. People and everyone, immediately I'll check the live comments on Facebook or, the tweets I'll get later, and it'll all be, oh, so you can't play golf. Too bad. All you care about is golf. It has nothing to do with it. I haven't golfed in Massachusetts in over a year, I think. I'm not going to play in golf in Massachusetts anytime soon. I just would like to know why other people aren't allowed to play and why the 25,000 people who work in the golf business in the state have to remain out of work. Explain to me why the 25,000 people, most of them blue collar, groundskeepers, greenskeepers, guys working in the snack bar, why they can't go to work. Can someone tell me that?
Right. There's no outbreak from golf courses. There's no outbreak from beaches, as far as we know. The outbreaks have been in large rallies and parties. The celebration in Manhattan that de Blasio ordered everybody to go to, and the New York City subways, which, by the way, they're just starting to sterilize now, or trying to, by closing them for 6 hours a night, which is still inadequate. They cannot sanitize these things.
Can you imagine the job, Tom? The guy who has to kick the bums off the subway. I mean, that's the cops, I think, or what do they call them? Subway police, the
transit police. Yeah.
Transit police. Their job is to get those bums. Some of them completely moved in. They have like tents set up.
Oh, yeah.
And all their belongings on subway cars. So before you fumigate the cars, you have to get them all off. And they're probably just laying in their own feces. And that's the worst job in the world.
Right.
Getting
and that's
everybody off.
Largely de Blasio has fostered, because obviously Rudy and even Bloomberg, to his credit, had eradicated a lot of the overt homeless problem. But they got to do the cars, they've got to do the tracks, they've got to do every station and platform. And that's where legitimately the threat was, this thing was spread. So does it ever open again 24 hours? Do the subways ever open again in 24 hours?
That's a good question. Yeah, then when they get a vaccine, or when we get herd immunity. I mean, I think we all know more today than we knew yesterday. I think we all know. Hell, we all know more about everything. We know it is largely a nursing home problem. It is largely a New York, New Jersey epidemic. Right. I mean, the states are different. Hell, Maine, which has a crazy governor also, and we saw what happened this weekend when a guy up in Bethel opened his restaurant because he said, he's got bills to pay and he's got people who want to come in and take a chance and come in for dinner or come in for a beer. They shut him down. Now, we went over this the other day, Tommy. I think it was Thursday. In Maine, they have like 50. I'll get the number. I have my little counter up here for U.S. coronavirus cases. In Maine, they had 50-something deaths in a state of over 1 million people. Right. Maine had 33 people hospitalized with the virus. 33 people in the whole state hospitalized, and they're shutting down entire industries. You know why? We'll go over this again. Why do they do it? Because they can. Because these tyrants, these little mini despots, are waking up in the morning. Here it is, Maine. 57 total deaths. 57 in the entire state.
Right, but you still have to burden share with everybody else, because somebody in Queens and New York can't go out. That means you can't sink a putt in Fort Kent, Maine, because it's about the spirit of the thing. It's just not fair if you're flouting it out there, what you're doing to everybody else. And it's BS. It's not. Maine was ready, like many other states, shutting down half their health facilities, getting ready with PPE, ventilators, and all this stuff, and it didn't happen. And I have no problem. I'm all for governors now making their own decisions and going forward. There was one state started to open, then took a step back. Maybe that was Jersey, who's getting whacked. New Jersey absolutely is getting hit. New York City got hit. And I think we can find similarities there. But there's no sense. And it's funny. I'm surprised you're as unbothered by it as you are. But the idea that they take sinking the putt away from a golfer, which is the only validation. It's like going into an arcade with no quarter. You can use the joystick and the rollerball all you want, but you don't get to have any validation. I mean, that is so perfect. Planning.
Also, I mean, I can't imagine if they have like tournaments like with this title, trophies or money on the line, and you have to just hit the little things. They're like little rocks they put in the hole. And you just hit the rock and it counts as a good putt. So that probably won't last at all.
Right now, you're just happy to be out there playing. So
right. And it's like we talked about with restaurants, Dave, that people are itching to go. I agreed with Dave like 3 weeks ago. I said there's going to be tough for restaurants when they open because people are still afraid to mingle.
Mhm.
But again, I think they're learning more, and they understand a lot of this is unnecessary, and they can't wait to get out there. I mean, the 25,000 people who are out of work in the golf industry in Massachusetts, those people would do anything, to get out there. So if they say you can't put your hand in the cup, or they get rid of the ball washers. Speaking of which, I just showered for the first time in like a week. But just whatever it takes to get people back. I think that's the answer now. And when they have restaurants that open up, like they did Colorado, which has a Democrat governor, by the way, a Democrat governor who's much more pro-business and less, panic than the alleged Republican, the Rhino governor of Massachusetts. But in Colorado, they're opening restaurants. I think it's today. It's May 4th. This is that stupid Star Wars day, right? May 4th,
Yeah,
right? So today in Colorado, they open, and they're only allowed to have, I believe it's 50%, or maybe it's 25% capacity. So whatever their capacity is, you just do the math simple. You got a 200-seat restaurant, you can have 100 people, and they're going to, watch out for it. And it's not good for the restaurant. They need to be back at full capacity, but it's better than nothing. And it's a good start. Right. And they'll have all those little measures in place where they separate the tables, and, they sanitize things every night, and they will take the steps. They will do whatever it takes, because people are dying to get back to work.
Right. The type torpedoing the restaurant industry has created a huge supply problem now. The United States is executing, for all the animals lovers out there now, we're killing now 700,000 little piggies a week.
Is that the number? 700,000?
Yes. And, tens of thousands, if not millions of tons of vegetables and all this other stuff. There was a supply problem. Now some of these middle suppliers are either having to shut down or have gone defunct. And there could be a supply problem in grocery stores. So the idea that you be tepid rather than aggressive about opening everything you can. I mean, it's crazy that the default is that closed is the default, and then maybe exceptions can be open. No. The outbreaks didn't happen in many of these settings that are by default having to be closed, and it's absolutely crazy.
And I think people are waking up to it. Thankfully, finally, they're waking up to it. And we're seeing what kind of, authoritarians we have elected. I mean, did you see the footage from LA? They had not riots, but they had the little unrest. People wanted to go to the beach. It was 90 degrees and sunny, and they kicked everyone off the beach because they didn't distance properly. When most of those people know that they're either not really in danger of getting the virus, or B, they're young and healthy, and if they get it, they'll be okay. So they're like, I'm going to take a freaking walk on the beach. So they kick everyone off, and then the deputy mayor takes a helicopter ride, and he's got the loudspeaker telling people they can't be on. And you're saying, this is creepy. Mm-hmm. Anybody who thinks that's normal, or anyone who thinks that's necessary, has lost their minds. If you think the mayor or deputy mayor should be in a helicopter, or you should have drones like they have in New Jersey going over people's yards, telling them to separate, you're not paying attention. You're really not.
And it's all about control, because out in the sun is safe. I mean, I
think we've learned that. Yes,
I believe in the sun is safe, and that's why it's just about control. Look at these freedom of movement that's happening down there, and people aren't coming to us government for their instructions. Other than there's some Cullinanes out there who still will be suckling at the teat of their local.
No, he's coming along. I think. Did you leave the house this weekend, Cullinane?
I just did my normal. I went in my backyard. I went around the neighborhood. I went to my parents. I
shot baskets without a mask. I saw that.
Yeah, shot some baskets without a mask. I did see a shitload of
your parents. Wait a second.
Yes.
Right. How old are your parents?
My parents are in their late 60s.
Yeah.
Mid to late 60s. Yeah, and actually, their neighbor just passed away from the virus. So it's been a little bit of an issue.
The neighbors must have been thrilled when the Cullinane brood pulled in.
Right. So yeah. So I'm coming around. So
they're not obese, are they? They're like you, skinny.
Yeah. I mean, they're healthy. They're fine. Yeah, they're fine. And
here's what I want to know. What I want to know, and I tweeted this, and obviously took a lot of shit. That's what happens when you do anything besides hide under your bed or under my desk, with a mask on and gloves. If I don't do that, then I want old people to die. Here's what I'm surprised we haven't seen. We now know, if you're paying attention, we now know you're at no risk. If you're young and healthy, you're at no risk. In fact, I just got a text or a DM from our buddy Michael Graham, who's, he's on Team Reality, Team Open Up the World here. He's one of the captains. Check out this little statistic from New Hampshire. It said there are 975,000 Granite Staters, that would be people from New Hampshire, under the age of 60. And as of Monday, today, COVID-19 had killed 4 of them. That's a death rate of 0.00041. 4 out of a million people. And those 4, maybe they had underlying conditions, maybe they were obese, but for the most part, if you're not obese or over 70, you're fine. And I think people are, even the dumb ones out there, even the people who aren't watching the news or, on Twitter, even though if they're sitting home watching, The Bachelor or watching, Real Housewives reruns, even they now know that if you're not obese and not old, you're not going to die from this. And it is, to me, one of the surprising things, and I thought I'd see this by now, is a real push from medical professionals, health professionals, fitness gurus, to get people to trim down. Now, if being obese is going to kill you, it's a death sentence if you get this virus, and about 70% of us are going to get it. We're saying now that before it's over, we've reached herd immunity or got a vaccine, about 70% of the public will get it. Now, if you're 400 pounds, now might be a good time to cut the carbs out, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, well, I've been accused of being.
I'm not implying anything there.
No, thank you. No, but you're right about that too. Those are my people. The fats are getting hit here. But I just saw it last night. We were looking, and there was a whole bunch of body shaming videos on Facebook. Talking about you.
Are there?
Race, right? Because still fat is beautiful, Gerry. Any shape you take is beautiful, and we shouldn't go by the Western beauty standard. And being rotund is just as gorgeous. And I think we could all agree that we like rotund people to be in bikinis, just like anything else. You're still not allowed to make fun of fat people. You're still not allowed to. Fat shaming is a good thing. People like me should not be shirtless at pools. And I've been thin and I've been fat. Fat is disgusting, and people should not try to be fat if they can.
And that's just an average. I mean, you're speaking generally. I'm speaking specifically. If you're Lizzo, who's proud to be Zoftic, wouldn't you think now would be a good time to do whatever it takes to trim down? Because there's a chance you're going to get this virus unless there's a good chance, and it'll kill you if you're morbidly obese. This is a reason they call it morbidly obese. Yeah. So why don't we hear more of that? Every commercial I see on TV has got the soft music, and it shows, people outside the nursing home waving signs, and it shows the cop and everyone's hugging and kissing, and we'll get through this together. Why don't they spend some of that time saying, hey, put down the pizza. We don't want to lose you.
Well, that's your big government for you, because remember, for years, the CDC and the World Health Organization was telling you to put down the protein and eat the carbs.
Right.
70s, 80s, and 90s, we were all told you need to eat bran muffins and put away the steak. And they drove us into the fat farm, essentially. And now these same people are now, of course, they're playing the hits now. Coronavirus is the hits. But day to day, they've doled out so much bad information for so many decades that I would have them rather just have them tell us nothing.
All right, here's what I do, and I do it all day and all night. I read up. I try to read everything I can read on this, and I know you do too. Try to stay informed. It's kind of the biggest news story of this generation. It is a huge story. We'll be learning about this, talking about this for the rest of our lives. Even if you're not obese, if you're young and healthy, for the rest of your life, you'll be talking about the pandemic. The COVID-19, the Chinese virus, whatever you want to call it, it is part of us now. Mm-hmm. So I'm surprised some people are not trying to learn everything they can learn. There is no evidence, none, that you can get it when you're outside. There is no evidence that masks, I mean, it makes people feel good. I guess that masks matter, particularly when you're outside. I mean, there's guys I follow on Twitter who are writing about this all the time. That Alex Berenson, the former New York Times guy, Jordan Schachtel, the guy we had on, the journalist who is thorough and he is relentless. And they are referring to study after study. You can't find one that says you should wear a mask outside. It is now a law. I don't know if do they call it a law or what do they call it? An edict when the governor says everyone has to have a mask? That's not a law because it didn't get passed by the legislature, right?
No. It's some emergency clause though. So it's not a law, but it might as well be. It might as well be. I mean, I do think health officials can compel you to do it. In some ways, I don't know what law enforcement is involved. You know, they tried to get Dr. Birx to talk about this on with Chris Wallace on the weekend.
Yeah, she did. She said people not wearing masks or people protesting without masks and not distancing. And they asked about Michigan, and she said it was devastatingly worrisome. Devastatingly worrisome.
Right, and that's actually okay because they can sit around and be devastatingly worried all they want to. In the coronavirus task force and the CDC, and the fact that they have no real authority arm is a good thing. The fact that people like you, Governor Baker, are acting as if it's okay that drones are buzzing you and that the helicopters are going through the beaches in California, that just shows you as well that they've got no real teeth to it. But the thing is, onto the California thing, by the way, it just goes to the spirit of human beings. You move to California, the traffic sucks there.
Right.
There's incredible in Southern California. There's an incredible homeless problem. They've got crime problems. The only reason you go to California is to go out on the beach, to go out in Huntington Beach, Newport Beach, or wherever down in LA is the beach, or sorry that the guys are working on my house out there. I have a construction crew here working.
That's against the law.
Well, it would be against the law, but they're working because they're doing lead remediation, and that's the law telling them they have to be here. So they're.
By the way, I saw some roofers this weekend, and they were separated. They were out on the roof. His son was out. They were separated. They were working hard. They were getting putting in a roof, and I'm thinking, why is that against the rule? This was out of state. This was not Massachusetts. This was Maine. In Massachusetts, you still can't do that. And there's no freaking reason for it. It's just madness.
That's crazy.
Actually, these guys weren't wearing masks, but they weren't next to each other. They were spread out, and they were in the sun and the wind, and they were young and healthy looking. So it's just insane. And
do you draw the mask line like today? The protest that's going to happen at the State House.
Yeah, big protest at 2 p.m.
2 p.m. Are you wearing a mask to that? Because I would assume that obviously they're not going to be socially distancing, so there's going to be a ton of masks.
I can promise you, I will never wear a mask while running. I love that. You got to wear a mask. I see it too. Joggers with masks on. It's hard enough to breathe, going running, and the idea that you're going to wear a mask while running alone. The other day in Cambridge, a guy pulled a knife on a jogger. He pulled a knife on a jogger who was jogging by. The guy was with his 2 children, young kids, and the jogger was coming close to them, apparently too close. So the guy pulled a knife and told him he should have a mask on. He called the cops. He called the cops. The cops showed up. They checked, they frisked him, whatever. The guy didn't have a knife. They looked around. He'd thrown it into a yard, like a couple of feet behind where he was. They found the knife. They found him, and I think for some reason the guy's not pressing charges because the guy was allegedly protecting his children. But we put that into the simple minds of some people that a jogger going by is threatening your children because he doesn't have a mask on. That's so flawed on so many levels. First of all, your children aren't at risk of anything. I don't know how long this is going to take to get through. You have young children, a bunch of them up there at the Shattuck Mansion. Those kids are not in danger of getting it or giving it.
No, and also, what is this trend of people going out and then complaining about people being out?
It's taking pictures.
Right. There's their divine right. I was out because I'm a good person doing good person things. But this jogger, he was out essentially spewing coronavirus like a locomotive spews steam. And I can I know by dint of who I am that I'm a good person and I was doing something noble, but he's a piece of crap. And I need to stab him because he's coming near my kids who aren't really susceptible to the virus either. I mean,
and by the way, they take a lot of these pictures at these parks in New York or the beaches in LA. Most of them, I look at them, and the people who are close together are like couples or families who live together, sleep in the same bed. They're supposed to stay 6 feet apart when they go to the beach.
Yes.
The other people, in fact, I saw this when I walked on the beach the other day. I know I know I was living dangerously, but I walked on the beach, and the only people who are close to each other are with each other. They're the same thing.
Right.
The other people stay their distance, just like in those parks. You're not huddled up with strangers. You
Right.
keep your distance from strangers. And you're right, man. These Karens, these nosy neighbors, these neighborhood narcs, who are all Democrats, by the way, they're all liberals. These people, they're outside. You're right. They're outside looking to snap pictures and then shame someone for whatever, walking around without a mask.
Well,
I had him.
Your buddy, the Boston the sports writer John Tomasi, remember, he had a problem because, you know, when he went to the Whole Foods, there was couples were in there. You know, if you're
couples
and you see a couple in front of you, if you remove Tomasi, I think that's around 33% of the problem that you've removed. But no.
Can you explain that to me? Because I've seen that a few times where people were shaming others who were close to their own family. So they expect them to, again, sleep in the same bed, have dinner at the same table, you know, use the same bathroom. And then when they go outside, separate.
Mm-hmm.
There's still some really stupid people out there. And there's still some really nosy, you know, the Karens. They're out there and they're looking to catch, you know, and by the way, the government, you know, the governor, the mayors are asking you to rat out your neighbors. It's madness, and we'll look back in shame on that element of it, that people are calling the cops because their neighbors weren't wearing masks in their yard.
Back to the beaches, you know, like Salisbury Beach and Seabrook, you know, they're not going to turn on the water. Like, to hell with you, man. If you've got a rental unit up there and that's how you're making your rent, that's your only profit center left, maybe. And they get to decide, no, because New York City subways are susceptible, we're going to destroy your livelihood. And the same thing's happening right near me in Plum Island at Newburyport. This is overreach. It's screw you. I mean, and if people go out there with those big, long T-shaped screwdrivers and turn their water back on, I'd have no problem with it. I have no problem. This will be the first time when lots of us, including you,
it is madness. They're shutting them off because they don't want people to forget renters, people to use their summer homes, like from New York or whatever, from Boston. They don't want them going up to the beach, which is insane. It's their home.
Right.
And what do you think's going to happen if they use their home? They're going to use their home and they're going to walk on the beach. That's it. They can't go out. There's no restaurants to go to. So I don't even understand the logic behind it, saying stay out of your summer home. I would think going to your summer home and on a nice weekend like this one and taking a walk would be a good thing. But I'll tell you the other thing, and I've got a long list of things that are just driving me nuts, is when I'm outside, and not so much, you know, on the beach in Maine, but in Boston, and you see families and they'll have 5-year-olds or 7-year-olds or 8-year-olds with masks. They're just instilling fear. They're making that kid afraid at a young age, a very impressionable young age. They're making them think, ooh, that evil virus is going to get me.
Well, yeah.
When are you doing that with your children? Do they have masks?
I want the world to know what Trump's inadequacy has caused our family, because he skipped 7 weeks where he could have just shut this down. Now my children literally, Gerry, are wearing masks. And my 7-year-old came to me yesterday and she said, Daddy, why did you vote for such an inadequate, mean, malevolent person, uneducated, she said, uneducated person like Donald J. Trump.
Racist. Don't forget racist.
She said misogynist. She said he said it was okay sexual assault was okay. And she asked me why I did that. And she made a good point. And so all of this stuff that we're doing, all of this LARPing and acting out, this is all because Donald Trump, and he's mean and evil. And so half the country did this to us. And you see what you did?
I want to know seriously, do your kids have masks? Are they ready to? Good. Because I can't find it. Maybe you can find it where they're, 5-year-olds are vulnerable to this, either getting it or giving it. There is literally no evidence.
No, there's not. I've got a mask. I have a flimsy little mask I use, and in my brother's staying with us, and he's got I don't even know what he has. He's a handkerchief. My wife's got a scarf. Don't have masks. It doesn't make any sense for the kids to have masks or scrubs or a spacesuit. None of that matters.
But you see it. I'm telling you, you see it everywhere. It is incredible how many people are putting their children there. Again, 5, 8, 10-year-old children in these masks, making them think that when they go outside, it's like some kind of monster, some kind of goblin is going to come down and get into their breathing, into their lungs and kill them. And
yeah,
I guess people are afraid to tell the truth or afraid to be honest that their kid is not endangered, that there's no evidence. I think there was one study, I think it was Italy. They had 325 kids under, so I don't have all the details, under 12, I believe. They checked, not one tested positive. And in fact, even better, there's no evidence that if they did, that they would transfer it. Like this, it's so dumb that there's no school. Maybe because if these kids were together, what would be the difficulty? So the teacher, you have one teacher, if they can't transmit it, what's the danger? If you just had one teacher, say the teacher's 35 years old and healthy, what are we worried about? I mean, if you're over 60 or 70, if you're obese, don't go to work, don't go to school, but whatever. I'm banging my head against the wall because I'm going to go out today and there are going to be kids everywhere with masks.
A lot of this is cultural and political. We saw this right after Trump was inaugurated. Remember, there was the woman rally with all the funny hats, and people brought their kids, and moms dressed like they were in The Handmaid's Tale because we were literally now going to be subjugated by Trump and his evil followers. So people do this all the time. People use their kids all the time now to act out and to show as a barometer just how jarred and shaken normalcy has been since the pernicious forces have been unleashed. So they do it all the time because people are disgusting.
Here's our guy Jordan Schachtel. Again, he's a journalist. We had him on the podcast a couple of weeks ago. I mean, he's relentless. He studies this stuff. He refers to any study. He reviews studies from around the world and updates us like every day. Here's him 22 hours ago. There is no evidence outdoor face mask wearing does anything for anyone. No studies showing outdoor outbreaks. It's a myth-based recommendation. Dr. Birx, who determined U.S. policy through failed models, has a bad habit of speaking with authority about unknowns. She was talking about all those protesters in Michigan. And to be honest with you, I wasn't really, high on those protesters in Michigan with the long guns and the menacing-looking face masks. That was ridiculous. I don't even understand it, to be honest with you. They stormed the State House because they want to go back to work. I respect that. I appreciate that. We're gonna in Boston. That's happening this afternoon. There will be no long guns in Boston. Why do you need the body armor and the guns? I didn't get it. There was nothing violent about it. You just want to go to work.
They're affirming their rights. It's allowed in the State House. The State House is maybe the center of state government, but the State House and the work product of the State House have to do with the citizenry, and they're allowed to have guns. They're allowed to bring them in there.
What did you?
I generally hang out with, but I've got no problem with it, and I think
all you did was give fodder to first of all, you gave fodder to Whitmer, and she starts calling them all racist. I'm not sure what was racist about it. There was a great interview with a guy, I retweeted it, a black guy who was just saying, I don't want any handouts. I want to go to work. And everyone was tweeting that out saying, this is who Whitmer thinks is an evil racist. But when you go in there with the body armor and the badass, helmets and face masks and the AK-47 or the AR-15s, you just give them fodder. You don't really think you're going to use it. You don't need to. I don't even understand why you needed to be armed.
Any kind of affirmation of your rights, unless it's a pro-abortion, is going to be considered fodder for the left. There's no way. It doesn't matter if these guys didn't have guns and didn't have Trump T-shirts and all this stuff. It doesn't matter. They'd still be called racist. They'd still be called misogynist. They do it all the time. with the
Yeah, although I don't know, I like the protests better, without the the militia look. Just go and have your signs and say let us go to work. Just go there and support these rebels like the restaurant owner in Bethel, Maine, or the tattoo guy in North Carolina. He was big yesterday or Saturday because he got taken out in handcuffs for daring to give someone a tattoo. I mean, I'm sure he had a mask on and gloves on, but it's not enough. Rules are rules. And the other thing that we're seeing is just the hypocrisy. And we've talked about this before with some of these elected leaders who are saying one thing and doing another. Northam said you can't leave your house, you can't go anywhere, you got to stay locked down, and then went down to his beach house in North Carolina. The mayor of Chicago, who is scary, she is really enjoying her power, this new power. And she's the one that said she closed all the beauty salons and the barber shops. And then 2 days later, she was caught in a beauty salon getting her hair done. And instead of saying, I'm sorry, I should have shown better discretion, she said, it's important to me because I'm the face of the city. I'm on TV a lot. So in other words, it's important to me, not you little people out there. You stay home. It doesn't matter what you look like. And by the way, I don't know how much she tips her beauty salon lady, but it ain't getting it done. Can we hear from the mayor of Chicago, Cullen?
Now, I've directed Superintendent Brown to order all police districts to give special attention to these parties. And this is how it's going to be. We will shut you down. We will cite you. And if we need to, we will arrest you and we will take you to jail. Period.
Jesus, that is a woman out of control. She's, by the way, plenty of room in the jails because they're letting, the rapists and the drug dealers go. But I just looked it up the night before she made that speech. That was Friday, I believe. Correct? Friday.
Yep.
Thursday night, 12 people were shot in Chicago. That's just an average weeknight. 12 people were shot. And if you Google, shooting Chicago, it's incredible. Here's one. Chicago reports 24 shootings and 5 murders in one weekend. That's last year.
Well, and also
5 dead, 28 wounded this weekend. Oh, this is news. This was 2 weeks ago. 5 dead, 28 shot in one weekend. And she's worried about people who aren't keeping their distance at the city park.
Right.
And getting a friggin' haircut.
Right. And she's promoting police interactions with people. So, it used to be you'd hassle some guy selling loose cigarettes in front of a liquor store. Now you're going to have cops shaking people down, walking into houses, pulling over cars because this zealot has decided that these small infractions are at a capital level. And you're talking about there's already enough problems with the police relations in minority communities. And now you're turning these guys into snitches and into hasslers. I
don't have it at my disposal, but if you put the little chart, we know the people who've the pandemic has tested. How many people have tested positive in every state, and how many people have died? And it's pretty comprehensive right here. Illinois has had 2,600 deaths. They got a real problem. They're right behind Massachusetts in the number of total cases. But they have more people, get shot and killed than they will have, get coronavirus and killed when it's all said and done. I think they have a bigger issue with gun violence than they do with the coronavirus, particularly because the people dying in the gun violence are young and healthy. They're 17. This kid, I'm looking at one, 12 hurt on that night, including a 17-year-old boy and an off-duty Chicago firefighter. That was the morning, probably the morning of her speech, where she said, if you don't have your mask on, we're going to put you in jail. I mean, does she know how that sounds? That you're the mayor, and if you catch someone too close to someone else in the park,
no, it's
you're going to put them in jail?
For your own good, just like when the Japanese were interned. It was for their own safety, Gerry, that they were locked into concentration camps in the country. Somehow Roosevelt is a hero. I don't know.
My goal is to be the first one arrested in Boston for running without a mask or biking. I got to get a new bike. My bike got stolen, but when I get a new bike, I'm going to bike without a mask and I'm going to run without a mask Of course, I'll be alone because I'm, I don't have any friends, but I will be. I think that's illegal. Although I read the fine print on this, Cullinane, and our governor said you have to have it on your person, like your mask. So if you were, I guess, walking alone with no one around you, you could take it off and breathe. But then
that's my move right now. Yeah. I'm like, it's hanging down, and then when somebody comes nearby, I put it up over my.
Do you have a black one, or do you have a logo on it?
No, it's custom made, but it's shitty. Yeah, it's a shitty design.
I don't see any point in masks until Hillary put one on. She's got one that says "Vote." Have you seen it? She tweeted out a picture, and I said, "That's not a bad idea, Hillary." I saw it the same thing when I said Nancy Pelosi has a mask. I said, "Good, leave that on there all day, every day for, even after we get a vaccine, leave that on there. It's a good look for you." But the people, everyone's going to have like their designer mask now and, or their favorite team. You get the Patriots or the Celtics masks, and Hillary said, "Vote" on it. I'm surprised.
Yes, that was a shot, by the way, without makeup. That we were supposed to notice that. That
was pretty scary.
Going all natural, Gerry. Well, it is interesting. I do think that the beautiful women do look good in masks. I think that.
Oh, Jesus, is that one of your fetishes?
Maybe it is, Gerry. Actually, I didn't know until this virus hit, but it is true. It is.
How does it work in banks? Because banks are open, right? People are walking in there with masks on. Has anyone robbed a bank yet with a?
Yeah, what is the new etiquette for bank robbers? Is it no mask because everybody else has one?
There's a tweet that went viral this weekend of the woman. She was in a store and she has a mask, but she cut a hole for her mouth because she wanted to make it easier to breathe. I said, that's a Bernie voter right there. That is a Bernie supporter without a doubt. But I'm just wondering, as I ask every day, and I'm going to ask every day, what's next? I mean, Friday after we were done, we had our special Robert O'Neill podcast. If you haven't seen that, heard that, it was really good. Robert O'Neill is really good. And we posted that Friday, and that was about the same time the governor made it a law or whatever it is, a edict that you have to have a mask on your person. And every day I'm waiting for the next. The thing now that we're seeing, and I think we're going to see it a lot, is arresting business people, the restaurant owner in Maine, the tattoo guy. We're going to see more of that because there are desperate people saying, if I don't open, I'm going to go bankrupt. I'm going to go under. So they're going to say, open, arrest me. I think it's good publicity. I mean, wouldn't you? I think the guy in Maine lost his license, his liquor license.
Yeah.
Hopefully he'll get it back, and he'll be viewed as a guy who had some guts and took on the system. And I think it'll help his business in the long run.
But it tells you just how creeping this arrogance is in government, and the way they look at you and say, "Listen, dummy, I understand that you want to get out and be near the beach, but you're going to screw this up. You don't know what to do with your freedom. We know what to do with your freedom. We can't trust you to do the right thing because you're a boorish dumbass." And it's the same thing with the Robert O'Neill thing. It's the same exact attitude when he shot and killed bin Laden. And then President Obama said to us, by the way, we're not going to show you dead bin Laden, even though he killed 3,000 Americans and essentially caused the war in Afghanistan. And, many people would like to see this dead POS. We can't let you do that. We saw it. I saw it. My administration saw it. Just take our word for it.
Right.
But we can't let you see it, because we don't know what you'll do with images like that.
Are you going to accuse me of not asking the right questions? That I didn't ask about that?
I haven't heard it yet, Gerry. It's my next one. I haven't heard, and I've also.
Good. He's good. He's great. The book is really good too. But
I love it. But it's still actually unbelievable to me that we weren't allowed to see that dead bin Laden.
Here's what's going to. I mentioned restaurant owners and tattoo guys who are going to go open up. I think people are going to ask questions and demand answers like, excuse me, governor or mayor, why does a 5-year-old have to wear a mask if they're not, you have no evidence that they're vulnerable at all? Why do I have to put my kid in a mask? And I think parents should be asking, why can't my kid go to school? I mean, it's not healthy. Can we agree? It's not healthy. You've seen it. You guys have both seen it. Well, your kids are young.
All that stuff, though. Like the general.
No, I think you could do another month. I think you could do a month and a half of school.
I'm just saying the general public is already convinced that we need to be wearing masks. Like you could have Dr. Birx come out today and say, don't wear a mask, and nothing changes. Everybody's so scared shitless right now anyway. Nothing would change.
I disagree. With some people, you're right, but I think a lot of people would say, I knew this was stupid. I knew it was an overreach. I'm going to go outside. And again, if you're in the emergency room, if you break your ankle, put a mask on. Fine, make everyone feel better. But if you're walking your dog, it's stupid. And I saw people on the beach on a sunny day, a windy day. I think wind helps too. That's my theory as a known epidemiologist. I think wind blows the virus away. But people were like walking on the beach in this windy, sunny day with a mask and saying, what are you doing, stupid? You don't need that. But I think more people learn the worse these like mayors and governors look. And that's going to come to a head. Like we have a big protest today in Boston. There's going to be those in every city, and some will handle it better than others. Some will bring their long guns. Some will get crazy, and then you're going to have arrests, and that's the next thing. I don't know.
Then you'll get on TV at least, and Don Lemon will cover that if there's an arrest. Absolutely,
I went by one. There was a protest last week, a smaller one, but it was perfectly well behaved. There was no guns. There was no swastikas. By the way, the swastikas, and I love how she uses this, were on the Whitmer posters. They're calling her Whitler. Whitler,
yes.
Like Hitler. And they put her on there with a swastika. They're not wearing them proudly. They're not Nazis. They're accusing her of being a Nazi, and she's using it, to project. But anyway, I saw a perfectly well-behaved protest, and people were just saying, let me go to work. It's the most American thing you could ask for. People demanding, not looking for handouts, because, they're out there. If they're looking for handouts, you can find them. They don't want handouts. They want to work.
That was on your Twitter, Gerry. That's the guy you were talking about from Trinidad and Tobago, who grew up next to a socialist country, who saw that what happens in refugees and the ruin of societies because of this stuff. You're right. People just want to work. Like these guys, I've got the guys out here working right now. These guys are busting their asses, and they're awesome. And this is, thank God, there's a little bit of the economic engine out there, getting it done out there. But part of it, by the way, you mentioned breaking an ankle. If you sprain your ankle, now is not the time to think that you're getting into emergency room.
It is amazing, the numbers. I saw one in Canada where they said one hospital predicted 70 people will die from skipping cancer treatments. Mm-hmm. Just one hospital skipping chemo. We talked about this other day. That Dr. Scott Atlas from Stanford said half the people are skipping chemo, half the patients. And it was something like 80% of heart surgeries have been postponed. Heart surgeries. I'm not sure how many
on mute or somebody. One of the co-hosts you had last week was talking about somebody with your friend.
That was me. That was me.
Yes. Did you have chemo for your throat, Gerry, or radiation?
No, I had radiation. Yeah.
Can you? I
can't. And by the way, some of them are being postponed and canceled by the hospitals. Others, people are just afraid to go to the hospital because that's where you get the virus. And so they're staying away, and there's going to be a price to pay. We're going to start seeing more of that. I said it was one Canadian survey where they estimated the number of people dying because they weren't getting treated. You're going to see that around the country. It's going to be frightening. There might be more people, certainly more younger people dying from skipping chemo or skipping radiation.
Yeah.
And just because they don't want to take a chance. And it's nuts. I mean, it must be a very difficult decision, but
I've got my friend's wife is a nurse at a huge hospital known for its cancer treatments, among other things. And they've brought all the nurses in the ER nurses, whatever, and retrained them to be COVID nurses. And they've been in a library for the last month, just reading. They're getting worldly, they've never taken in so much literature, but yes, they've just been simply on standby. And this is happening all over the place. Maybe it didn't happen in Manhattan and New Jersey, but all over the place this has happened as these hospitals have been retooled on a wartime footing for something that never came.
It's amazing. And they're laying off people. They're furloughing, nurses and doctors. And I will give them credit. They're doing some great TikTok dances. They're great dancers. By the way, did you see that TikTok video where they had the fake COVID-19 patient wrapped in plastic? I thought that would be the end of the TikTok videos, because I don't think
they're. That makes me so angry, Gerry. And we'll get off the cancer talk here, but I mean, I've you've had parents die from cancer, and I have too. Already, when you've got somebody who you love ravaged in a hospital ward,
Right.
when you go out there and the nurses are like shooting the breeze, and you're already like, "What the f- you laughing about? What's funny right now to you out here?" You know,
It is true. You expect everything to stop. It's unreasonable. It's irrational. But you
Yes.
expect you expect the world to stop because you lost a parent. And
right?
it doesn't work that way. But I think the TikTok video with the dead, or they have the one where they pretend the cart is the ship on the Titanic,
Yes.
and they're all in the cart and they're wheeling it through the hospital ward. I don't think those are going over big with the public anymore, Dave. The first few, fine, but right now, people are like, wait a second. I thought we had to stop everything to avoid overwhelming the hospitals. That didn't happen. And I think people just the opposite.
It's this weird like USO tour in the middle of the battle field that happens. And they're all too good too. That's one of the problems. Is the one with the Titanic. They must have had to push that cart 1,000 times.
That takes time to choreograph. Oh, look at this. Are you reading the comments here, Cullen? And Scott Zolak, because Scott Zolak's commenting, asking me where my mask is. By the way, I was very disappointed in Mike Pence, who apologized for not wearing a mask.
Yeah.
I guess Pence is always going to be the anti-Trump. It's a very balanced ticket. Pence is a good family man, a religious man, a soft-spoken guy, playing by the rules, and then you get the lunatic at the top of the ticket. So while Trump will never apologize, and you know what? If anyone should wear a mask, I would say a 73-year-old guy who's a little overweight, might want to wear a mask when he's around other people. But Pence apologized for not wearing one at the Mayo Clinic. Trump will never. They could tell him, here, put this on, it'll save your life, and he'll say no. Why
are you mad that he apologized? It was an asshole move. He should apologize about that.
I don't think Pence does asshole things, though. Why did he? My theory was Trump told him not to wear a mask.
They told the entire country to wear a mask. He goes to a place where there's an actual rule: you cannot walk in this building without wearing a mask, and he doesn't wear a mask.
Why did he do that?
Because he's an idiot.
Well, he did it.
I think he did it because Trump told him to do it. That was my theory, because Trump thought it was a bad look for the vice president to have a mask on.
Yeah, he's a politician politicking. He gets tested every day. Everybody around him.
That's true. He was just tested.
Just a bad look, like in the sense of a world leader is it's just going to scare the shit out of people. Is that why it's a bad look?
Gerry, but that's the same thing, Dave, with yelling at people whose 5-year-olds don't have masks on. It's this get with the spirit, everybody. We're all hunkered down. Wait, you're less hunkered down than me, right? Because there's been a new notification sent out by Dr. Birx, who says now you have to do this. But I got there to that area before you did, so now you're less than me. It's crappy. I have no problem with Pence doesn't want to wear a mask.
But Trump is literally 1 pound away from being obese, and he's 73. I think he's. Well, you don't think that's legit? That what was it? 239. If he was 240, would have been. No.
Trump's one of mine.
We've seen him in his golf clothes.
Yeah,
and he could lose a few, but so he's not morbidly obese, but he's getting there, and he's 73, almost 74, I believe.
He does not exercise.
He doesn't exercise, and he eats Big Macs for breakfast. So he's around lots of other people all the time, and he doesn't seem to care. You know what he thinks? He's like Charlie Sheen. He thinks he has tiger blood, and he's never gonna die. Don't you think that's how Trump thinks? He always brags about how healthy he is.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting though, because his predecessor smoked for decades. Not just marijuana either. Remember, Obama going into the White House was a smoker.
The picture of health. All right, we're going to get to Trump and Obama, because our guy Don Lemon had a very interesting take on why Trump is not asking for help, through this crisis from Obama. Well, first of all, Obama's busy playing golf and making money and running Netflix, but. Would anyone expect Trump to call Obama or Bush or anybody and say, could you help me, please? It's not going to happen. But let's talk about Shea Concrete before we get to that, the latest on Trump and his battle with the media and his battle with the Democrats. But first, Shea Concrete, they're in business. They're open. They're waiting. They're open for you. They're a 4th-generation owned and operated business is working hard day in and day out to be your trusted precast concrete partner. That means they're working hard today, now. If you're bored, if you don't know what to do, if you're a contractor and you're out of work or on hiatus or on furlough, and you're thinking about one of your big projects this spring, and it involves precast, go see the guys and girls and folks at Shea Concrete. They got 4 state-of-the-art manufacturing facilities around New England. If you're a contractor, let me run down some of the products Shea can deliver to your job site ready for installation. Water and wastewater products, underground stormwater systems, barriers and bullards, stairs and bulkheads, deck footings, electrical and communications product. The list goes on and on. Shea can do it all. If you're an engineer, Shea can help you. They help you design your next project. They got a bunch of engineers. They got some smart people. They're sitting at their computers right now waiting for you to call, waiting to help you out. Give them a call for more information or for an estimate, or just log on to sheaconcrete.com. And they got pretty cool hats too, and some great products. I never see you wear your Shea stuff, Cullen.
I wear my Shea stuff around the house.
It's too big.
I can't wear a hat on camera with this thing on. Look at this thing. I can't.
With that nice hair.
Yeah. True.
Well,
didn't put any product
Trump was at the Lincoln Memorial last night. It was a great setting. I got to give him credit. They separated. They had Mnuchin and Pence and him, and they had Brett Baer and Matthew McCallum, and the light, and the whole thing was, I mean, it's a good idea. It's good optics, especially while Biden is still down in his basement, denying the latest rape charge. It's a good juxtaposition. And by the way, before we get to our friend Don Lemon, we got to mention Mika. Hats off to Mika.
Yep.
Mika, great job with Biden the other day. I couldn't believe it. That had to kill her and Joe. It had to kill them.
She didn't want to, Gerry. She wanted to hold his hand. She was imploring him the whole time. She's imploring him. Can you just check in the archives? Can you just check in the archives? Do a search just for her name? She's saying to him, we want to walk past this. We support you, Joe. Please just do the one thing.
You know what? Biden screwed up.
It could. I mean, there could be speeches and some foreign policy and foreign leaders that they had, and you could take it out of context. So foreign leaders and foreign policy. Is there maybe something on the Ukraine and a Hunter Biden? Maybe that might be.
That's a hell of a defense. I don't want you to look into my archives because there's speeches I gave.
Right.
Wait a second. Speeches?
Yes.
You know what Biden should have done in this situation? He screwed up. He looked terrible. He looked guilty. He looks feeble. He looks awful. He hasn't done a thing since this pandemic began where he doesn't look bad. There's not a thing. I mean, the last time he looked okay was the debate that we watched together the night before, the couple days before the shutdown. Yeah. Since then, since he's been in his basement with his wife, controlling the strings, he's looked terrible. He looked terrible with Mika. Why didn't he just say, sure, open it up, look at everything, knowing that he's got people like, pulled a Sandy Berger and went to there, and we know they went to the University of Delaware, some of his operatives, and probably grabbed some things. We know University of Delaware is run by his, acolytes, so they could have fixed it. They could have made sure that whatever report Tara Reid filed was, gone missing. And if it were a speech about, Hunter Biden and whatever, they get rid of that too.
Right.
Saying that he doesn't want people to look.
By the way, they probably did. And then,
so if they did, then why didn't he say, go for it?
Well, right there. But now you've got the Obama administration now saying, it's okay, we already vetted him. There's nothing there. In the media, like Don Lemon and CNN, saying, oh, all right, the Axelrod already looked into it and Biden's clean. Oh, okay. You say so.
That's, again, a hell of a defense. Say, the Obama vetted him. I mean, we now have, I think, 8 women who've accused him of inappropriate conduct, including Tara Reid, who accusing him of, I believe, according to the Military Code of Justice, was rape. Right.
And those are the accusations, and she may or may not be credible. Who knows? But you've got footage of Biden doing stuff that would get any executive fired and get you in trouble for sexual harassment all over the place. This is the Mr. Anti-Sexual Harassment in the Clarence Thomas case. You've got footage everywhere of this.
It is amazing that they didn't think of this before they, winnowed the field and got rid of Buttigieg and Klobuchar and Warren, because he is so just compromised. He's on record saying believe all women, and now just not this woman. Believe all women, just not the ones that I've digitally raped. But
well, remember his dad. dad did get laid off, Gerry. Remember
Oh, I'm sorry. You're right.
that. So, I mean, A equals B.
But the most devastating take, I thought, to Biden, ironically, was Lisa Bloom. That's Gloria Aldridge's daughter, the lawyer for Harvey Weinstein, big feminist. And she goes down the thing and says, I believe Tara Reid. She's not looking for money. She reported it at the time. She told 5 people, including her neighbor who supports Biden, and blah, blah, blah. Right down the list of the reasons she believes Tara Reid, and then says, but I'm still voting for Biden because he's better than Trump. So in other words, I know he's a rapist, but I like him better than that. To me, you can't get too many people to admit that they are going to vote for someone they believe is a rapist. You can't. That's not a winning strategy.
There was a great a reporter from New York, a woman who, after the Clinton thing, said she would have done the Lewinsky herself.
She would service him just for abortion rights, just because he's pro-abortion. She would gladly do what Lewinsky did.
Do not be a woman in liberal America or a child, man, because you are
expendable.
Just ask Wendy Murphy how well women are protected. They are not protected. And you're right, expendable. If it's for the cause, sure. You know,
I was
what Weinstein was doing. Gerry, we know this. They all knew what he was doing, but he could get you a good gig, and he voted right, and he was friends of Hillary and Bill. So,
do you remember when it first blew up on Harvey Weinstein? That first broke, the Ron Farrow story broke, and it was apparent that he was a monster, and his jig was up. First thing he said when they got a camera in front of him, he says, I'm going to focus now on going after the NRA. Mm-hmm. He thought, he would play that liberal ticket again, and people say, oh, okay. It was bizarre. He said, I'm going to spend all my time trying to bring down the NRA.
Gerry, it would have worked. Had Donald Trump not been president, that would have worked, absolutely. But if they sacrificed Weinstein, then they could sacrifice Trump, they thought, anyway. Right. And so Weinstein had to go, and Al Franken had to go, and the liberals didn't like doing it at all. But the thought was
now the compilation, the montage of Kristen Gillibrand and Kamala Harris and Stacey Abrams and all of them is so devastating. When they said something a year and a half ago, believe all women, Kavanaugh did it. Now you have more evidence, much more evidence, and you say no, Joe Biden would never do that. No, not Joe. And then you couple that with the pictures of Biden sniffing the hair of a 12-year-old girl. It's clear he's a creep.
And the Kavanaugh thing, they built out of nothing, out of pure fiction. They built this composite of the mean, overly privileged frat boy, Ivy Leaguer, and we all know that guy. That's what Kavanaugh is. So we could see that happening, right, with his drunk friends in their uniforms and doing that stuff. And there was nothing. There was zero.
Tom, here's all you have to remember about the Kavanaugh. She didn't know what year it was. She didn't know what year it was, and she didn't. And her best friend, Leland, whatever her name is, her best friend didn't support her, said no, she'd never met Kavanaugh. So she had no witnesses, no support, nothing.
Yes. And in her shining moment on the stand, when they said, what happened to you? How do we know this happened to you? She said, well, it's indelible in the hippocampus. As if those are something that anybody says. Something's indelible in the hippocampus.
And she had 2 front doors because she was so traumatized. She made it all up. All you need to know is the front man, the point man of the anti-Kavanaugh movement was who?
Well,
Michael Avenatti, who was let out of prison. They had to make room for the guy who cut hair against the law, so they let Avenatti out.
Yes, was Kavanaugh was running the sex ring. I think.
Who's gang rape gangs? They were 15-year-old gang rape gangs.
And now Biden's locked himself into having to pick a female as a vice presidential pick, and 2 of them were in that committee, of course.
Right.
Kamala Harris is in the committee. The woman in the snow, I forgot her name. Klobuchar was in that committee as well, and Stacey Abrams was very vocal at the time.
By the way, Tom, we're waiting. Have not yet. You should know this. We have not yet heard from the fake Indian. Liz Warren has not come out. She's endorsed Biden, but I wanted to say she believes him. She's smart. I mean, she's diabolical, but she's smart. She knows how bad that's going to look. So she's trying right now to come up with a strategy where she could support Biden without looking like a hypocrite. Good luck, Lizzie. Good luck. So this morning I was watching, the news, flipping around. I flipped to CNN. when I think William Devane was selling gold on Fox News. So I flip over to CNN, and they have, it was a little startling, but they have Doris Kearns Goodwin on, and they had some other people on talking about how disgraceful it is that Trump is not consulting with Obama and Bush and Clinton, but mostly Obama. You know, Obama, he shepherded us through one crisis after another for 8 years, and he's so smart. And I'm thinking, you know, they can't be real. They can't be serious. Could you imagine thinking that Donald Trump should call Barack Obama and like meet with him and say, help me, Barack? I mean, first of all, it would be a pointless gesture. It would just be symbolism. And secondly, it's the last thing in the world Donald J. Trump would do. Hell, when they asked about Bush, I like this answer, by the way. He said, you know, where was he during impeachment? George W. Bush is calling for, you know, bipartisanship now, and, you know, let's all get along. But where was he, you know, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, whenever, during the impeachment? Why didn't he step up then and say, this is a blatant partisan attack, let's get past this? So he said, don't need you, George, and I don't need Barack. But, you know, all the historians are calling on him to, you know, consult with Obama.
Oh, they love that team of rivals stuff.
Oh, I know. And they just worship, you know, they worship Barack Obama, and it's going to hurt them. I don't think we have time, you and I, to get into this now, but it's going to kill them when finally, whenever that day is that we find out that Obama was in it up to his eyeballs, the setup of General Flynn, the whole Russian hoax, it was Obama and Biden were both in it up to their eyeballs. It's not going to look good to their hero. But here's Don Lemon's take on why Donald Trump is not, you know, sitting down with Barack and consulting him on how to handle the pandemic.
What is it about President Obama that really gets under your skin? Is it because he's smarter than you? Better educated? Made it on his own? Didn't need daddy's help?
Can you hold it right there for 1 second? I just want to correct the record.
Yep.
I don't know if he's better educated. We don't know. No one's ever seen a transcript from any college that Barack Obama went to. Trump went to Penn and the Wharton School. I'm not saying, you know, he's smarter. Made it on his own. Barack Obama made nothing on his own. He played the system to perfection. I mean, give him credit, but, you know, he had lots of help. Anyway, go ahead.
Wife is more accomplished, better looking. I don't know. What is it about?
Hold on. Oh, maybe I'm wrong. Is he saying?
I think he meant is he better looking?
Is he better looking?
Yeah,
okay. I was going to say, did he really just say that Obama's wife is better looking than Trump's?
I
also don't know if his wife is more accomplished than Donald Trump. I think Trump was elected president, has owned cities and property around the world, and Trump has put a little bit of a dent in the world, I would say.
And that's accomplished. Became president. And he punked you on the whole birth certificate thing. What is it about him?
That's not true. First of all, Trump flies up to New Hampshire and demands that Obama show the birth certificate, and Obama did it. That was not Trump getting punked on the birth certificate.
And that's politics. That's what he did. The same thing to Ted Cruz. I mean, whatever. It's, you know, Trump fights dirty, and so he thinks that Trump's jealous because Obama's better looking, so he's not going to consult him on this. I mean, it's just a dumb symbolic thing that they just love, you know, Barack Obama so much. You know, Don Lemon. I mean, does he sound smitten right there? I mean, Don Lemon, he would love to like put some suntan lotion on Barack Obama. That's what he would like to do. And it bothers him that Barack Obama is kind of irrelevant right now.
Right. Well, the DC bureaucracy, the swampy bureaucracy, those are all Obama and Bush people anyway. It's as if neither of them have ever left. As far as personal leadership goes, I don't know what you would learn from Barack Obama. I mean, that he comports himself well, that he shows etiquette, that he holds the door for Michelle. That stuff's not important at the moment. I mean, you know what you could learn? Actually, going back to Kavanaugh for a second, that moment when Trump stood up and stood behind Kavanaugh and supported him, nobody, no presidential historian, Doris Kearns Goodwin or Douglas Brinkley, nobody would have predicted that a president would have taken that much heat for one man only because it was the right thing to do.
And thank God he did. Can you imagine looking back and seeing they defeated Kavanaugh with these completely made? I mean, to me, that was the
Right.
most, the most cynical, the most diabolical political thing I've ever seen in my lifetime. They made this whole thing up. I mean, they had him raping some girl on a boat in, off Rhode Island. I mean, they had the gang rape, group that he was leader of, and all made up about a guy that, was just happened to be, conservative. So they said, we're going to destroy him in front of his children, in front of his wife, in front of his parents. And they did it. They all got together and they said, we know this is all made up. We know he didn't do these things, but we are going to try to pin it on him. And remember, he pulled out his penis at a party, totally made up.
And the media
tried to destroy him, and the media, of course, played along. I think, in a way, I think that all backfired because you get a look behind the curtain. You really did get a look at, at the sausage factory. You said, boy, these people are evil. These people.
When Kavanaugh says, what you people have done to me has destroyed my life and I won't be able to coach soccer anymore, they come out and say, oh my God, did you see how untemperamental he was?
Right.
He didn't have the temper for this. We're just merely trying to destroy his life and legacy and all his life's work and his prospects for the future and his family.
Right in front of his parents and his children. I always put weight in that. That's a great point. Like, how would I react, or how would you react if someone came up with a completely false accusation of something so vile and so violent? It's blowing up on Joe Biden. Why doesn't Joe Biden slam the desk and say, this is bullshit. I didn't do this. You can't do that. Because I'll tell you why, because he doesn't remember. He's so creepy that he's probably done that 100 times in some form, and it's all blurred. He doesn't remember what he had for breakfast. How is he going to remember something from 20 years ago?
But also, Joe Biden's just as cynical as any politician. What he did with Clarence Thomas was disgusting. This is a guy who was not afraid to use whatever political dagger was there. And so, in a sense, he's got it coming. This is a made guy getting whacked. I'm
enjoying his struggles. Put it that way. It's going
to get worse. You don't caress and feel women, including from their abdomens up, which is odd if you look at a girl and nestle into their necks. That's not something. That's a sign of something else. It doesn't just stop there. I am absolutely convinced that there is more stuff out there with Joe Biden. If you
of course,
you like the ladies, and if he's using women who have to, because of some ceremonial reason, have to be there as a little appetizer for him to wet his whistle for that moment during the photo op, then you can imagine behind the scenes.
But we don't want. I tell you, I'm enjoying his struggle, but I do not want him replaced. I'm living for a Trump Biden debate. I mean, Tara Reid in the front row, and I think the first question they could ask Trump. The first question could be about climate change. The answer will be about Hunter Biden. It doesn't matter what they ask, what they say. He's going to just be prepared to say Hunter, 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 and it's going to be.
Oh yeah.
And it's going to be glorious, and Biden will be looking for his wife Jill, Dr. Jill, saying, help me. Help me. What do I say here? What do I do? I mean, if you see these interviews, including the one with Mika, he's looking at his notes constantly. There's not a single on spontaneous thought. It's just looking down. What am I supposed to say? What am I supposed to say? It's
that's sometimes, Gerry. Sometimes he's looking down at his notes. Sometimes he just falls into a standby pattern where his head slumps. Usually it's when he's exasperated, he can't get through a question, and his head he'll just be hangdog there for a few seconds, and you wonder if he's okay, but he's not. He's found a special dark place where he's it's like the spinning thing on a computer where it's buffering or whatever. That's what he's doing. He's buffering there for a second.
He nodded off when he was with Hillary.
Right.
That was he took a little nap.
That's another great one for the Me Too conversation, to be around Hillary.
She doesn't help. I know she endorsed him. I know she's.
I don't know. I think you're right. Like Warren is circling around here like a just shadowing this entire situation.
I think, Biden needed a break after the Mika thing, and I think he got it from a New Hampshire state rep in Manchester, who in his defense of Biden, he supports Biden. He said that you can't do what Tara Reid accused Biden of doing if the woman doesn't cooperate.
Oh.
It was the most bizarre. His name was Richard Comey, and he was forced to resign because it was so stupid.
Yeah.
I mean, it was so insane. Can you imagine thinking this is a good way to defend my guy, defend my choice? He resigned after backlash when he suggested Tara Reid was, quote, looking for attention and would have had to, quote, cooperate for Vice President Joe Biden to assault her in the way that she claimed. This is a state rep. He tweeted this out. Judged by the position of the female vagina, it will not be easy for anyone to just put their finger into the vagina unless there, T-H-E-I-R, there is some cooperation from the female herself. That is why I believe Tara Reid's allegations is false. She's looking for attention.
Oh,
A state rep, a politician, tweeted that out. Can you imagine?
yeah, I don't know.
I mean, I've tweeted.
Off that script if I
Is
were-
that a drunk tweet or what?
I don't know. I don't know in what situation those are the right words in that order to put together. But no,
I don't even know what it means. Why? I mean, if he's strong enough, can he force anything? I mean, I don't even know what he's talking about.
Man, that's a good way to exit politics hastily without having to stop by human resources or doing paperwork or anything.
I'm just looking at. He's been a New Hampshire state rep since 2008. Wow, he's been around, and he can't be. I mean, I guess he is dumb. I mean, that's just insane. Unless he was, drunk. It's a good, He's from Nigeria. He was raised in a refugee camp and then brought to New Hampshire in 1999. But he's no longer a state rep. It's too bad for the people in Manchester. They no longer have Richard Comey representing them. But the tweet was deleted, but I think it lives on forever.
Well, yeah, that is
Go ahead, defend him, Shattuck. Come on.
Well, I mean, if I were consulting for him right now, first of all, you got to try to tie it to the coronavirus.
That's
and
true.
your experience in Nigeria.
Oh, you could say it's racist, right? Or sexist or homophobic or something. I don't know. Good
Right.
luck to-
For the fact, is he a black guy?
Yep.
So then he's extremely in the minority in New Hampshire, and there could have been some implicit intimidations and institutionalized racism.
I'm not sure why he had to resign, but whatever. It's he's gone because of that tweet. But anyway, you haven't seen The Last Dance, the documentary, the 10-part documentary on Michael Jordan, but it's good. I recommend it. It's last night was I don't really care about sneaker companies. One of them was about sneaker companies. The other one was about his gambling and his golfing. And Jordan it's just crazy. I mean, I like the way he's handling this. As I said the other day, he kind of just sits back and lets it all come to him. And he's worth almost $2 billion now. $2 billion. And they go into the whole history of the Air Jordans. The first year, they were expecting Air Jordans to make like $4 million, and they made $126 million. They were a hit right from the beginning.
Look at how that was one of the funny parts too, was that Adidas turned him down.
Yeah, I know.
If you think back,
That's what he wanted. He wanted to go with Adidas.
Exactly. Yeah, if you think of like bad business decisions, usually before last night, typically Blockbuster buying Netflix comes to mind, and now it's Adidas not signing Michael Jordan.
Well, I think it was January. I put all my money in cruise ships, all my money into Norwegian and Carnival cruise ships. That's not working out. But
movie theaters too was a good investment, I think.
Right. But behind the scenes stuff is amazing. Jordan just laying in his room with the cigar, and Jordan. Back when one of the teammates was asking for tickets. And he said something like, something about God, God help us. He said, God just did help you. And then he says, don't put that, you better not put that on the video. But he called himself God, but he's so good. And it's obviously, I mean, there's never been any debate, at least since he, that no real debate of the best player ever. It's kind of consensus. It's
He's a quick wise ass, by the way, too. He is good with it. Like, who was it? Was it Horace Grant? Who was the one that Scottie Pippen and Michael Jordan met at half court?
Yes, they didn't like.
And the ref goes, "Do you know this guy?" And Jordan goes, "Oh, we used to see him all the time in the playoffs."
Right.
He just had all these quick-witted,
He blames Horace Grant for the book, the Sam Smith book, Jordan Rules, which changed everything. I forgot how impactful that was, and he thinks that Grant was an anonymous source and kind of rats him out. So that's some good dirt. But they get into a whole gambling trip to Atlantic City with his father before a playoff game. I mean, the guy's a maniac. I mean, they show him trying to get out of a practice and get everyone on the bus because he has a tee time, and he's always. There was I'm not sure if he was even in that, but the second weekend, I think it was the third or fourth episode where he talked about playing. He always plays 36 holes whenever he golfs, 36 holes. And when he was younger, he used to play 54 holes. And one day he played 81 holes of golf. Jeez. And in one day, and he's just a maniac. They show him out there. He's betting on every hole, every putt. He's got a cigar going.
It's more about betting. Then I understand more, because that would be painful.
They asked him if he has a gambling problem. He says, I don't have a gambling problem. If I did, my wife would leave me. My house, I wouldn't have, any money left. He says, I have a competitive problem. And I'm always competing. And they show him playing this weird game where you throw a coin against the wall against like a security guard with a mullet. And they're pitching quarters for, I don't know how much, $10, $20. He just can't stop competing. And much of it is about, the bet. He's betting on everything. And, if you're worth $2 billion, he's right. I mean, if you're betting hundreds or even thousands, I think it was David Aldridge said, for him to bet 10,000 on a golf match is like you betting $10 on the golf match. But he is.
Is that why he quit, took up baseball?
They don't really explain. At least they haven't yet that I've seen. No, the theory was that David Stern told him, take a break, go away, go play baseball, because he'd been embroiled in his gambling scandal. I don't know. Maybe they'll get into that more.
Jeez, the guy was so good for basketball.
But he's like the greatest athlete ever. Obviously, he's an incredible athlete. Obviously, you can see the hang time and just the athleticism is off the charts. And you combine it with like this drive, that Larry Bird had, or, Tiger Woods has, where he just wants to beat you every day in everything. He was mad in the NBA Finals against the Suns because Barkley won the MVP. Jordan already won whatever it was at that point, 5 MVPs. But he said, I should have won that year. And he was mad, and that was driving him. And the fact that he didn't like Jerry Krause drives him to do everything. Krause liked Dan Marley. And he said, because Krause liked him, that was enough for me. He wanted to embarrass Dan Marley. So there's always, some of it's real, some of it's made up, but there's always something driving him. And he's so driven and just so competitive. When you put that with the athletic ability, you have the best player ever. And I'm not sure we'll ever see anything like it. LeBron's not in the same class. There in no other sport is there like no debate. In my opinion, there's no debate in basketball. It's Jordan and then everyone else.
Well, if Bird doesn't get injured, wouldn't Bird be in the?
I mean, I love Bird. I would put him, second or third, but no.
Yeah. Obviously didn't have the.
Jordan won 10 scoring titles.
Yeah.
He won 6 titles and won the MVP in all 6 finals.
So is Phil Jackson in this?
Oh yeah. Well, last week was
he better be in it.
He's very much in it. And last week they got into his whole upbringing in Montana and how he became a hippie and all spiritual. And yes, lots of Phil Jackson. Lots of Jerry Krause.
I know somebody who went to high school with Phil Jackson's kids, and he used to helicopter in to events.
Did he?
Yeah, one of those guys, who has.
I once covered a game in Worcester. It was a CBA game, the old Continental Basketball Association, and I was there to write about it because it was Phil Jackson coaching one team and Dave Cowens coaching the other. They were both coaching the CBA, and they were rivals when they played, and they were fine now. They got along good. They're both a couple of free spirits. But that's when Phil was just kicking around the CBA. And then he went on to win 1 million titles and kind of become known as the greatest coach ever. Although I'd take Auerbach just because.
How do you coach somebody like Michael Jordan?
Do you good question.
And one reprimand a week, whether or not they deserve it?
Well, they asked Doug Collins last week. They said, what was the strategy? And he said, simple. I called the play. I said, give the ball to Michael and get the fuck out of his way. That was Doug Collins' take on coaching.
Let me ask you this. Before it premiered, Jordan did an interview and said, everybody is going to hate me because of this docuseries.
Disagree.
I disagree. I haven't found one maybe just kind of, I'm not going to say he's vindictive, but he is he's vindictive. Yeah, but it's but little shit like for Krause, for like the Kukoc shit. Like, it's just small stuff. You know?
I agree. I don't like him. I mean, I don't dislike him because of this at all. I don't want to say I like him more, but I respect him and I understand him. And they went through last night the difficulty of being Michael. Yep. And I hate that when people say how tough it is to be me, to be a celebrity. You don't know how tough it is. But we're talking about the biggest star in the world. And they're showing you some of the demands when, before every game, after every game, there's a kid, in a wheelchair, or there's some old guy with a ball to sign, and it's just nonstop. And they talked about how, before the game when he got to the arena, after the game when he left, and then back to the hotel, a whole new crowd of people just looking, for his autograph. They showed a media guy last week. I think he was a European reporter, and he's asking for an autograph. And the PR guy had to step in and said, no, that's not what you do here. In America, the media doesn't sit there and ask for autographs. And they had to say, not today, pal. And he's just
sports media anyway.
He's like, Michael Jackson in his prime. He's like, the Beatles and just people are all over him all the time. And he handles it pretty well. I have to say he doesn't get snippy or too snippy. He can be at the media because he keeps track of everything, keeps notes on everybody, what they're saying about him, just because he's looking for motivation. But I wouldn't say that. Maybe it's coming. There's how far into it are we? 6 episodes?
Yeah. What are they doing? 8?
10, I think.
Oh, they're doing 10? It's completely overhyped, by the way. I know you didn't you say that when this was beginning? It's kind of just all over the place. It's not exactly.
It is a weird thing. They go from 1 year. They go 1 minute it's 1998, and then it's 1993, and then it's 2001, and then it's 2008, and you're back and forth, and it's a little weird the way they're doing it. But the behind the scenes footage that they've been keeping for forever.
Yeah,
and finally got the green light because they paid him enough.
How about the fact that they interviewed Kobe a week before his death?
Yeah, I know, that's pretty wild. Interviewing Kobe, but although that was what you'd expect, Kobe just worshipped him and thanked him for all the great advice he gave him over the years. I want to see. People are asking, who else would you like to see in this form with behind the scenes footage and inside stuff? I think the Larry Bird story, and I know everything there is to know about Bird. I'd still love to see it. Still love to see, his upbringing and video from high school and college, and, talk to whoever, Bobby Knight, talk to, friends from high school, that kind of stuff with Bird would be great.
Yep.
I like the idea. I want Larry drunk in the public garden. Isn't there lots of that? Like him hanging.
He got in a fight in what it was called Chelsea's in Faneuil Hall and broke his hand punching a guy. And I think that stuff would be great. People mentioned like Tom Brady. I don't think it would be. I mean, behind the scenes with Belichick and Brady, if you had that, would be great. But I don't think Brady is as compelling a character as Bird.
And Bird was a hayseed from a crappy town, and when somebody can bring those surroundings and that behavior to new heights and superstardom. And plus, Bird, didn't he hide in the Olympic Village? Well,
he went to, and one of the best stories that I remember is they were in Monte Carlo, and he went to the bar and ordered a beer, and they says there'll be $9. He says, I'm not paying $9 for a beer, and left. He wouldn't, he's Larry Bird. He wouldn't sit and drink with his teammates because the beer. But Larry, with Tom Brady, we know his parents are great parents. His family's very strong. His sister's very supportive. Larry Bird's father shot himself after calling his mother, and shot himself while she was, I believe, listening on the other end of the phone. So
Jesus.
That kind of stuff makes for a pretty damn good documentary. And we haven't got to Jordan's father being murdered yet, have we?
No.
In this thing.
Nope.
Which I assume will be at least half an episode, and that'll probably be pretty compelling. You need that stuff. Everything can't be wonderful. And if you were to do Brady, it would be all positive, and he's happily married, and his Kids are perfect and his parents are great. That doesn't work for a documentary.
No,
it'd be like doing the Tom Shattuck story. It'd just be too perfect.
Well, you remember I had my battle with poison ivy, Gerry. I am currently building a chicken coop. I've got great.
You won that battle, right? You beat the poison ivy.
I'm on steroids, as a matter of fact. I think I'm losing weight now, Gerry.
Oh, you better. I'm worried about my friends who are a little overweight, and I'd put you at the top of the list. So trim down so you don't leave us prematurely.
Not going anywhere. But you talk about Jordan and like Brady's got the same thing, but with Bird, what's incredible, and I don't know where they teach it, but like the play was never over. I mean, somehow the last second rebound, he just, where you would say, okay, the ball's out or this play is over. This guy stole the ball. It's like these guys he's like this insanity that Bird just never gave up on stuff.
And he's the strongest. He had the strongest mind, just mentally toughest. He would always have the mental edge. There's never a moment where you didn't think he would come through in the clutch. He wanted the ball. You had to have the ball, and his teammates loved and trusted him so much. I mean, I don't know that he would cooperate, although they're saying Jordan made a few $1 million for this. I don't know how many, 6-8 million. Paid him enough. I bet Larry would do it. And I can't think of anyone else. And I know I'm biased because I love watching his whole career, but I can't think of anyone else who brings you that kind of, edge to a documentary like Jordan.
Yeah. I hate that Rodman's in it. I can't stand him. He ruined my 90s for me. I mean, he's just such an uninteresting, total jerk. I believe there was a rumor that he slept with Jenny McCarthy, which broke my heart in 1994.
Well, I'm telling you, the only one who's really held up well in this documentary, two people. B.J. Armstrong looks like he's 18 years old.
Yeah.
And Carmen Electra looks great.
Yep.
And the thought that she was in the sack with him and gross.
Yeah. She actually, you almost met her, Gerry.
Everybody. She slept with every rock star.
That's true.
She came in with Navarro.
She still looks great.
But, yeah, that is, I'm going to go out on a ledge and say that I think that a lot of the Baywatch cast was attractive.
That's why we have you here, for those
behavior.
What do you think's the next, let's say, the stay-at-home trending show that comes out? So we've got Tiger King and we got this Jordan documentary. Do we get one more before this?
Good question. Well, I think the Waco, I haven't seen it yet, the thing on Netflix about Waco, about David Koresh.
Yep.
I think people are getting into that, and I'm going to get into that as soon as I get through Ozark. We don't have time to talk about Ozark because I got totally hooked in Ozark. I never knew the show was so dark. I mean, so violent, and there's so many evil characters. I'm enjoying the hell out of Ozark, but
tough to get through Laura Linney, though. Gerry, is she okay in this? Because
she's too old. She's 56 years old, and like her brother's like 21 in the show or something. But no, she's good. She's got this back and forth where one moment she's normal and she's good mother, husband, and the next moment she's evil. She's got that dark side. Every character's got the dark side. There's no good guys in Ozark, as far as I can tell.
Yeah,
maybe one of the kids, I don't know, but for the most part, everybody's got that evil side, which comes out just when you need it to. It's a great show.
I hear it's fantastic, and I don't usually like fiction. I'm waiting for my buddy John Durham to get his report done. And I would like to see heads roll at the FBI. I know it's not on Netflix, but I am so excited about what could be happening. I think that what we found with this Flynn stuff is telling you that this was a constructed attempt to take down Trump. All
right, next time we have Shattuck on, we're going to do the deep dive because I'm with you. And you mentioned in passing, I don't think we'll ever see anything on Netflix, seeing how Obama runs Netflix. But the next shoe to fall is Joe Biden and Barack Obama being complicit in the setup of Michael Flynn. And that will be devastating. I mean, there'll be the total blackout from the media, but then they'll cover up best they can, especially for Biden at this point. They'll do anything to get him, keep him upright. But when we find out that they gave the green light to this setup, it's going to be big, at least in our world. But Anyway, we'll see. I'm going to check out that Waco show on Netflix one of these days. I'll give you a full report. I love, stuff about cults is always interesting. That thing, Wild Wild West, what it was called, that cult out in Oregon, which was true, that was on Netflix last year or 2 years ago. Wild Wild Country is a great, true look at a cult that was, operating under our nose. I mean, it was Oregon, but it was in America, and the stuff they were doing was just mind blowing. And the guru that was running it and buying Rolls Royces, it's great stuff. If you haven't seen Wild Wild Country yet, I highly recommend it.
Let's check that out. I like documentaries. This Waco thing is also a very, very good lesson on government and bureaucracy and law enforcement. And
Janet, I haven't seen it yet, but Janet Reno burned alive 25 children. Let's be honest. I mean, it wasn't on purpose, but could you imagine if that were, I don't know, a Republican, an evil Republican, if that were, who the hell's the Attorney General now anyway? If that were Jeff Sessions? If that were Jeff Sessions or Robert Barr or Ed Meese?
No kidding. Oh, no, it's absolutely.
I mean, it's one thing to say David Koresh deserved it, but there were 25 kids in there.
Yes.
They didn't have a choice. But anyway,
I'm
going to watch it.
They jettisoned Elian Gonzalez because Fidel Castro wants him back. I mean, Jesus, the Clinton years were whacked, and subsequently years as well. But it's important that people learn about them.
All right. Well, we'll all watch that Waco thing on. I don't even know how many parts it is on, how many episodes, but we'll check it out. We'll give you a full report because you're right. It is a pretty wild story. But I will let you go feed the chickens, Shattuck. Good job. Thanks, brother. We will talk to you probably next week or maybe sooner. Who knows? Thanks to Shea Concrete. Thanks to Allied Paving. And thanks to our friends at DCU. You can check us out on Twitter at Gerry Callahan, at Dave Cullinane, at Tom Shattuck, and at Callahan Podcast. Go look for that Robert O'Neill if you haven't seen it, heard it. We put it out there last Friday, special bonus Friday podcast with the man who shot bin Laden. And by the way, Cullinane, that was the 9th anniversary. Friday, we posted it on the 9th anniversary of the killing of bin Laden. And he was great. He's just a cool guy. And he talked a lot about the mission and about his role in it and gave credit to everybody else. He was tweeting about it over the weekend because of the anniversary.
Hey, Gerry, there was one man who was against the mission, remember, in that row.
True. Exactly. And right. O'Neill gives Obama credit, says it took guts, and Biden was against it. Obama went against the wishes of his vice president. So he's been wrong on just about everything. But he said every man on that mission is still alive today, 9 years later. And these are some badasses and some crazy guys. And by the way, some of them went down in a helicopter right there on the bin Laden compound. We talked a lot about that. And they left the chopper, and blew it up and left. They're all still alive today. And they're all still, talking about the day they killed bin Laden. It's a pretty big deal. But we talked to Robert O'Neill about that last week. You can check that out at thegerrycallahanpodcast.com or just get on the Callahan Podcast Twitter feed. You'll find it there.
Oh, yeah. Remember to like, review, subscribe, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, do all that stuff. Because we're live streaming now, Gerry, I've found that a lot of people are going back to listen from the beginning, which is kind of madness because we do, the daily topics thing. So they're going back months, but go like, subscribe, review, all that good stuff on Apple Podcasts.
And we got lots of people on the live comments on Facebook are telling us what to watch on Netflix, but I will check out Waco. I've already seen Tiger King. I've already seen Wild Wild Country. I'll check out. Is it just called Waco? Is that what it's called?
I think so.
Good. Well, I'll check that out. We'll talk about it after we see it. All right. Thanks, Shattuck. Thanks, Cullinane. I'm Gerry Callahan. This is the Callahan Podcast. We will talk to you again tomorrow morning.